I think that there's very clearly a point in my life where I realized I was addicted to self-help. I was so addicted to the idea of there being an answer somewhere else or something like that.
That is Natalie Kulesza, and this is Tiny Conversations. I'm Brian Colley. Natalie is an actor, writer, and someone who loves to laugh. I sent out a tweet asking if anyone would want to be a guest on this podcast, and she responded. She said she wanted to talk about self-help, so I met her in a nearby park, and we had this conversation. I think there's a reason that you're drawn to this kind of live performance.
Yeah, there definitely is. And there's also a reason, and it's funny enough, there's a reason I'm drawn to the idea of self-help too. Because actually I've had an ulterior motive, but I wasn't going to mention it.
You can
mention it to you when you said, do you want to come and talk to me? I said, sure.
Okay.
But because I've started really examining it over the last several years, and then I'm trying to develop some kind of piece that has to do with self-help.
For you, what does self-help mean?
For me, the way I relate to it is like there's this, as we all know, I feel like there's definitely this kind of self-help culture and that is here. And I'm not sure if it expands into different countries or hemispheres and continents of the world, because I haven't done enough traveling to really understand different cultures and the way they, I guess the way they, I don't want to say interact with each other, but this idea, self-help is very obviously part of our culture, and part of our society. So what does it mean to me? I think it's, there's just I almost feel like there's different facets. There's really different facets because it can be a really personal journey or it could be really something that you share with people. And it's also a huge business. It's a business.
One of the things I'm very curious about is why you are personally drawn to creating a piece about self-help.
I think that there's very clearly a point in my life where I realized I essentially was addicted to it. I was addicted to self-help. For sure, yeah. I recognized it. Basically, I totally recognized that I was so addicted to the idea of there being an answer somewhere else or something like that. Example, I would get really, I guess I would feel really flustered, or I don't know what's going on, et cetera, and I would go into a bookstore and I would go into the self-help section and I would just be like, okay, somebody has to have an answer here. Somebody has to have an answer. And I would start looking through, or there was authors that I knew and I would specifically go to. The thing is that, and what I kind of recognized that I was doing, and I know I'm not the only one in the whole world who's done this, but what I recognized I was doing was I was, instead of going, oh, yeah, I read that author really said something that landed with me, bam, there is this nugget of truth. It has hit my core. I'm going to roll with this and I'm going to create change, or, now I know that this is fine. I'm okay. Everything's going to be fine. I would get that from one person, from one source, and I would say, okay, cool. And then I would look for the next source, and then look for the next source, and look for the next source. And I was almost basically addicted to this idea of self-help and exploring what the answers were, as opposed to then truly applying them in my own life and then truly creating change in my own life.
Why do you think you... why do you think we would just keep going? Why do you think you wouldn't, like you said, stop, take it in, think about it, absorb it, and then maybe come back to it later?
Well, I think that it was exciting to start thinking about new possibilities of the way of living my life, it's almost literally like a drug, you just go, oh, I'm so inspired. Like, I just read this great book. I'm so inspired. And then and then you would get the next book from that author. Okay, I'm so inspired, or tell people about it, or you'll go online and research more. I don't know. It might have to do something with like the reason why I feel that maybe I even went into this kind of what I feel was this like self-help whirlwind. I went through some major changes in my life, and I didn't know how to deal with it.
What were some of the big things? What were some of the big changes?
Well, I had a major relationship in my life, and we separated, and it was like major, like long-term relationship. And it was just, when you just know that's your life, like it was just and my life was very centered around, I guess like not my relationship necessarily, but just that was my life. Like I was this person's partner, and we just did our thing. So when that was no more, and that was during my 20s. So I think it was really, you just kind of don't have those. You think that's that. You just think that's that. Like you're okay. This is it. This is the lifetime time. It wasn't. And I just, and then I realized, I felt like I was then left to, it was really like recreate my life. Like it literally felt like that. Like, okay, I was going to live by myself for the first time ever. And I was going to fully financially support myself for the first time ever. And just big life things like that, people learn, obviously. But I think I had an interesting situation. It's not even like that, because I don't think my story is unique in any way, shape, or form. But what I felt was that I had all these lessons to learn, but a lot of people around me had already learned them, because they had either found people later on. Like now I have a lot of friends who are like partnered up and married, and I'm like, hey, here I am, just I'm single again, and doing my thing, and they had already kind of learned those lessons about, I've already had friends who had, gone to school and finished school and did the struggle of the employment, and I don't know, like they just seem to, a lot of people around me seem to already have it figured out. And I had this big, I want to say anxiety around it, in a way that I should have had it figured out or something, and I didn't. And I just felt like it was really starting from scratch, and I had to learn a lot about myself and learn a lot about really what I wanted, because that's what I thought I wanted, and then it didn't happen.
Have you sort of slowed or stopped or reversed the whirlwind of the self-help addiction?
I definitely cut myself off from buying books. So that was great, because I just felt, because also the thing is that everybody, you really find out everybody's saying the same thing. So I just hit a certain point, and I'm like, okay, I get it. And I can share this with others now, and I can really start applying it. And I still need my places, my little resources, but it's not like I don't feel anymore that I'm searching necessarily. It's just I have my reliable resources. And then maybe something, and I don't feel like I search now for it. If anything new is going to come into my life, new inspiration that will create some kind of possibility for me to learn something new about myself, I feel like now it's just like organically going to happen. It's not me having to go find it and go learn about myself, like actually consciously. It's just happening now. But even that, now I guess I'm more just trying to focus on like the action aspect of it, really knowing and understanding where my inspiration fits in with me in my life, and how I'm going to use it. I just remember being in like some art gallery in Vienna or something, and just saying, oh, I could just really do whatever the I wanted. I really can. And just knowing that, like just really connecting into that. And I think I'm still, even when you have those big like life realizations, it still takes some time to understand, okay, well, really, how do I make that roll out for myself, or what does that look like for me? But I feel connected to it, and I feel really really lucky. And I mean, and even at the end of the day, it's like I feel lucky to even have that kind of realization, or to have that kind of thought, as opposed to never having it.
Tiny Conversations is a podcast featuring small discussions on big ideas. If you liked what you've heard, you can subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher. And if you want to be a guest on one of these episodes, please get in touch. Our theme music is by Broke for Free. If you want to get in touch with Natalie and learn about any of the new projects she's working on, she tweets at NK All The Way. I tweet at Brian Colley. Thanks for listening.